Welcome to the Bookcast, bringing you interviews with indie authors. From Washington, D.C., here's Bill Thompson.
Brigid Kildare is not your typical hard-boiled private eye, but she doesn't pretend to be. No matrimonial, no child custody, no bodyguard or surveillance work, no process serving. Brigid is strictly data. Asset searches, background searches, computer security, pre-employment screening, basically any type of records research is what she deals in. And you really couldn't expect anything else. After all, your average 5-foot-tall, blue-eyed blonde is rarely the person you'd send out after a bail jumper. Oh, and then there's that whole one-leg thing. ADA aside, most people don't think of an amputee as the go-to person for a security job. But in Kate Eileen Shannon's mystery, Social Insecurity, professional PI Brigid Kildare turns amateur sleuth when old ladies in the Federal Hill area of Providence start to go missing, and she can't get the police to believe her. Brigid, along with an odd cast of friends and family, solves the mystery, but not before 4 old ladies have died. She's caught the eye of a handsome Providence detective, and she discovers that not everyone who is close to her is what they appear to be. Kate, thank you so much for joining us on the Bookcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Bill.
Now, do I understand this is the first in a series?
It's the first in a series, only I prefer to call it a serial. It lacks some of the qualities of a series. It's something you have to read in order.
Oh, okay. So we have to start with this one.
You have to start with the first one. There's none of that repetitive background stuff that makes a series stand alone and frankly bores the heck out of me when I have to skim through a book that, is the 8th or 9th in a series. Because,
well, books like that, with all due respect to their authors, often tend to have the first 20 pages be previously unlost.
Yes, exactly.
Recap. But bless your heart for going for a straight serial. I mean, that's kind of rare these days.
It is. But I've read the serials in British women's magazines for a lot of years, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to do it.
So how did this story come to you?
Quite frankly, I got laid off from work, and I discovered the cozy genre. Mm. And after I had read quite a few of them, I said, hey, I think I could do that. And so I started writing a story, and basically I took some elements, like I'd see a crime reported in the paper, and I've actually got the first 5 or so plotted out, and each is based on a crime I read somewhere, and then I took my characters and wove them around that crime.
Mm-hmm. Now, was it purposeful that you made Brigid she's an investigator, but she doesn't, as we said, do any of the dangerous stuff, any of the street stuff. She sits at a computer basically and does this. Was that purposeful?
Yes, because my daughter is Brigid Kildare Shannon, and unfortunately, it's my late daughter. And if she was with us, she would have insisted on being the star of the book, and so that's how that came about.
Wow. Well, was she a 5-foot-tall, blue-eyed blonde?
Yes, she was.
Bless her heart.
Had a fondness for high heels, which is an element that's mentioned only in the first book, because I really don't understand why there's so many cozies that focus on high heels.
Well.
But in all fairness, she was so fond of them that it is mentioned in the first book.
Well, all right. I don't want to boldly go where I shouldn't be going, but why is Brigid an amputee?
It was a birth defect, something called Vater syndrome. It's fairly rare, and I do think that also it's kind of timely that we will be seeing a lot of very active amputees, unfortunately, as of the results of the wars already, but Boston Strong, there was a large number of very attractive female blonde amputees.
That's, sadly true.
Yes.
But we are, as a society, becoming more accepting of that. I even see amputee runners in commercials now.
Exactly. It's really, people are becoming much more accepting, and I'm very glad to see that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't get the impression, though, that you created this character so that you could be suddenly very politically correct and chic. I mean, it just happened to be who this character is.
Exactly. It just happens to be who the character is, and it's just a coincidence, the timing of it.
Now, 4 old ladies have died.
Yes.
Now, sadly, let's face it, if somebody reaches the end of a long and fruitful life, the first thing they suspect is not foul play, is it?
No, exactly. And in this case, it's a case where the 4 old ladies have just disappeared, as in their apartments are empty. They left a note for the management that they were moving out 30 days in advance. And so when Bridget discovers they're gone, she knows they would have told her if they were moving. So the police are finding it a little hard to swallow.
But of course, there is an explanation.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it's as basic and simple an explanation, but of course that's the spoiler that
that's
I
right.
can't tell.
Yeah, that's right. Just say not another word.
Exactly. Three of the women disappear before the book starts. And the fourth doesn't disappear. She's murdered, just kind of throwing a little red herring into the mix.
Now, is there something special about the Federal Hill area? I mean, again, if you can say so without any spoilers, or is
my! You don't know what Federal Hill is?
Well, if I recall correctly, isn't that the home of the mafia?
Yes, exactly. And it's a very nice neighborhood. It has the best restaurants, I'd say, on the East Coast, if not the world. And
isn't that near Brown University, right?
Yeah, Brown University is up on the east side of Providence.
Okay.
And then Federal Hill is one of the 7 hills of Providence, and Brown University is on one of the 7 hills.
Oh, okay.
And it's a neighborhood that is fun to visit. There's the restaurants, there's the people watching, there's all kinds of events held there, and it has beautiful old homes. So it just seemed like a good place to, and it has the history of crime. So it seemed like a good place to set the mystery.
So it would have been more interesting, in other words, than if you had set it in Cranston or Woonsocket.
No. As a matter of fact, I think I've only been to Woonsocket once or twice in my life. I think I need a passport.
Yes. I always found it odd, and maybe I should have prefaced this by saying I lived in Rhode Island for 3 years, a lifetime ago, and I always found it odd that in such a tiny little state, people thought that the distances were so great. I mean, you'd find people who lived in Warwick who'd never been in their whole life to Woonsocket. Oh,
and I live over in the East Bay, and people that I meet will say, "Oh, I don't cross the bridge."
Oh, that's right. You're on the other side of the planet.
Exactly.
Yeah, now I'm guessing all that kind of stuff has to play into this plot as well. I mean, you've flavored the story very heavily with Rhode Island.
Well, yes, I have, but funny enough, it's not as big a part as people think, because the characters' lives reflect my own and the real Bridget's lives, and we've pretty much spent our lives between Rhode Island, Florida, and Ireland. For example, the 3rd book is going to be taking place completely in Ireland.
Wow.
And the one criticism I've had so far of the book was from somebody who left a review and said the story was okay, but she found the characters unbelievable because nobody lives between 3 places. And of course, every criticism that she had was true. I mean, that's the way my kids were raised. They have 3 homes.
That's why they say truth is stranger than fiction.
It is, exactly. Whereas people who know me, who've read the book, I get emails or phone calls. I know who George is.
Well, now, let's talk for a moment about Bridget's faithful sidekick, her assistant, Kevin. I take it he's more than just the hired help?
Yes, he is. He is an old family friend who was originally the secretary of her mother. And so he has known her from the day she was born, and he is more like a family member than he is the help. And the fourth book is basically Kevin's book, and that's going to be called Not a Rhode Island Clue. An expression I've never heard living in Rhode Island. I heard it on television recently.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever heard that. What does it mean?
I assume it means not the tiniest little clue, because the gentleman, I think his name was Charles Ramsey, who got those women out in Ohio that had been, well, in his interview, when he was asked if he had any idea, he said, not a Rhode Island clue. And I was fascinated, and I Googled it, and I couldn't find it, and I just loved it, and it became the title of the fourth book, and I've had to rework the book around it because I loved it.
Knowing him, I suspect he made that up.
Possibly. He's a genius.
Yeah, no, he's a very colorful guy, and
he certainly is.
Wow.
He gets a dedication in the book.
All right, so do you have a timetable in mind for how often you're going to release your books?
Well, it'll be more than one a year. It'll possibly even be 3 a year if I can sort of focus myself enough, because since it is a serial as opposed to a series, I don't want to keep people waiting too long for the next installment.
So do you have an end point in mind, or is it just kind of open-ended right now?
At the moment, it's open-ended. I had a publisher for the book, and then I found all about copyright and the life of the copyright. And because of the personal nature of this character, I couldn't let somebody else own it. So I decided to self-publish it. I may write another series, which I will be only too glad to let somebody else handle. So it's pretty open-ended on this right now. As long as I keep getting ideas that are not stale, I'll keep doing it, but I will do something else as well and take the easier route with the publisher. People couldn't believe me when I just didn't sign the paper and gave the check back.
Wow. That's a brave move.
Well, like I said, it was personal, the characters anyway. And so I kind of felt like, I don't need to give it away. I don't have to give it away.
So if the story is a serial and it's going to have an undetermined amount of a number of volumes, at some point, if we have a bookshelf full of each of these volumes, we'll have the complete story then, right? I mean, it'll have kind of a beginning, middle, and end, except the beginning will be this book, and the middle will be book 5 or whatever, and the end will be book 10, 12, 15 or whatever, right?
Exactly.
And are the characters moving along in real time with each book?
They are, and it's funny because something will happen. So book 4 is happening right now as we speak. So when something happens, I will be in the grocery store and I say, oh, that's an important fact, and I'll text it to myself, if I'm not somewhere where I have a notebook, so that I'm putting these things into a calendar, so that because it's been tough for the first books because I have to go back, I have to check the dates. As a matter of fact, the chapters are broken up by date as opposed to a chapter title. You'll see June 21st, 2011 or something like that at the beginning.
So is Bridget a Red Sox fan?
Now that's a contentious point. Bridget is a Celtic fan, as in the Scottish football or soccer team, because Bridget spent most of her life playing soccer and over on the other side of the pond. But there are 2 characters in the book, one of whom is Bridget's father, who is a Red Sox fan, and the other is Bridget's stepfather, who is a Yankee fan.
A little conflict going on there.
Yeah, this is Rhode Island. There had to be.
Yes, but that is the stuff that great books are made of, is conflict.
Well, we'll have a bit of that.
Yes. Well, be sure and let me know when your next book comes out. We'll have you back on the show.
Okay, I really would love to do that.
Excellent. We've been talking with Kate Eileen Shannon about her book, Social Insecurity. Kate, thank you again for joining us on the Bookcast.
Thanks, Bill.
just discovered another indie author on the Bookcast. Look for us on Facebook and Twitter. See you next time.